To follow those shoes, we're going to do our best. Getting this ready for Mandy here. I'll try to. Swipe down to stop, double tap the foot camera. Oh, there I am. Mandy Lattner has joined us. All right. Everybody wave to Mandy.
She ready for a nap?
Wave to Mandy. Wave to Mandy. Yeah, you ready for a nap? Good. Good. Hey, I picked up somebody else. Don't even know who that is. We're going to take it. Wave to whoever that was. Well, I titled it A Society of Pleasure, so they All right, so we're going to be in Matthew chapter 22 tonight to kind of get us started. Actually, we've been there for a while. Remember where we Good to see everybody this evening. Of course, you know, we've been discussing different things going on with the idea of wanting and this is something in a personal way that I've been trying to achieve over the years, is trying to get to the point in my life where I want nothing but God. And I'm not there yet, but I'm working towards it. And I think as a whole, and if you haven't ever thought about this, I think that's something we all should desire, is wanting nothing but God and God only. In other words, if we had nothing else, if we had all despair and everything. By the way, I have no PowerPoint, it's just blue screen today. I'm kind of weatherman today. But anyway, if there was nothing else and that's all we wanted, then that's all we would need. A lot of times in turmoil in people's lives, sometimes God is all they have. I saw today a lady that her husband is a retired fireman. He passed away from a heart attack back last December, and her 28-year-old daughter passed away today with a heart attack. Almost the same thing. She had a little girl, I think she's 28, 29, somewhere in that range. And so she has lost her husband and her daughter in a 12-month period. And so you think about somebody in that situation, which is just horrible. All they have at this moment is God. And they're going to have a lot of questioning going on. And what I want us to do is if we can focus more on God, if we can come in contact with God more, and He is all we want, all we need. If that happens to one of us in this room, then our lives won't quite come apart as many people's will in this world. And so that's where we're trying to get to that desire. And so, like I said, several weeks we've been working on that. We just discussed the idea of devotion. And we talked about, just a week or two ago, that God is a jealous God. And we've talked about a lot about our own heart problems and the things that get between us and God. Our startup passage has been, and it's based off of Matthew 26. Hope you have this highlighted by now. Verse 36, Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And He said to him, You shall love your Lord, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like, You shall love your neighbors as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law of the prophets. So, we've kind of hit the basis, and so I decided to jump in feet first, head first, whichever one you want to call it. It could be bad for me and bad for you. But I decided to tackle one of the biggest, in my opinion, biggest problems as far as the heart's concerned, as far as things. We've been talking about the idea of the golden calf, about the things that we sacrifice for, the things we give up for. And I decided to pick one thing to start with. I got a few more weeks of having to listen to me before the time's up and somebody else moves into this position. But I decided to tackle something that was probably, in my opinion, everybody, it affects everyone. And so one of the things I thought about is from a college ministry standpoint, or anybody else, if you've ever worked in ministry, or you've ever even tried to plan an event for a group of Christians, young, old, whatever, you always had to make huge decisions. But for me, that decision has always led to frustration. And the frustration is this. What events can I plan that will have good attendance? What events can I plan that will have bad attendance? Now, it doesn't seem very logical. It doesn't seem possible, but it is. Imagine, let's be honest with each other. If I'm planning events, or a youth minister, or a youth deacon, or whatever, is planning events for his congregation, what are most of the people going to show up for? John don't say anything, huh? Supper, food, always, fellowship meals. You know, we took the word fellowship and made a meal into it. Yes, all right, it does. Supper. Fun stuff. All right? So, as a college minister, youth minister, or graduate minister, whoever is in charge of things, I have to weigh this, because if I plan, hey, we're going to go rate widow ladies' leaves, versus I'm going to take you guys to do whatever, play some kind of hockey up in Birmingham or broom ball or whatever. If I'm weighing these two options, and let's just be honest, you know which one's going to win. And if I plan too many of these over here, too many that raking leaves is terrible stuff. But too many raking leaves yards, cleaning up people's stuff, that giving to the poor, that kind of stuff. And I'm being honest here. What happens to my ministry? It goes down. And I fail. It looks like I fail because, well, heck, all they do is, help old people out. And all they do is do this. And we want to do this. We don't want to do this. And so that's a very frustrating situation as a minister. It's actually ridiculous. It hurts me, honestly. It hurts my heart that I've had to do that. And I've noticed over the years, if you've been around me for a long time, 2 John should be pretty close to the top runnings of being around me the longest. He's noticed between what I used to plan and what I plan now. Because my heart has changed over the years. I got the feeling, if you don't want to come, you just don't want to come. But if you're too busy to rake leaves the widow lady's yard, you're just too busy. And it's sad, but that's what we've become. We've become a society of entertainment and a society of pleasure. And we want to be fulfilled in everything we do. You don't want to go on a vacation. Nobody wants to go on a bad vacation. You want to go on a good vacation. You want to plan things and it works out fantastic. And you want to get something from it. And so think about a few things. If we weigh all the options, depending on whether something's worth our time or not, or whether it's fun or not, or whether they have the right food or not, that's what we've become as Christians. These days we expect everything in our lives to be pleasurable. We want our jobs to be what? To be good. We want to get along with everyone. Every customer that comes in is fantastic. That's what we desire. We want our relationships with others to be wonderful. We don't really know how to put a lot into it, but we want to get a lot out of it. We want our churches and our food, and the list can go on and on. We like to be appeased, we like to be amused, and we like pleasure. Now, this is why I picked this topic, because this is the one that hits the broadest of all of us. From the richest person in this room to the poorest person in this room, we all desire to be amused and be pleasured. I promise. No, he's not talking to me. We're going to get there. Society as a whole spends trillions of dollars each year trying to make themselves happy. Most of us, if you think about it, you spend your waking hours chasing the idea of pleasure. Not necessarily that you're out going to entertainment and going on vacations, but you want a nice house, and you want a nice car, you want all these nice things, which makes you what? Comfortable, which makes you happy. And that's where your instant gratification comes from. Pleasurable things are not bad in and of themselves, of course, but when God is left out of the picture and the things become about me, then they become a problem. Since the days of Adam and Eve, God has always wanted mankind to serve Him and Him alone. Now, a couple weeks ago, we talked about Joshua's big famous quote, and I didn't have it up here, but it says, "For me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And so if we look over in 1 Kings chapter 16, we're going to start there tonight. 1 Kings chapter 16. This is not too far after Joshua, and a little bit later on, Joshua and the Israelites have taken that stand, yes, we want God and God alone, and then they just kind of, if you know anything about them, they kind of keep some of the old stuff from Egypt. Now put that in the shop and put that, close that up. And then we find in 1 Kings chapter 16, starting in verse 30, or 29, in the 38th year of Asa king of Judah, Ahab, the son of Emri, began to reign over Israel. And Ahab, the son of Emri, reigned over Israel and Samaria for 22 years. And verse 30. And Ahab, the son of Emri, did evil in the sight of the Lord more than all that were before him. And as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the sons of Nebat, he took for him his wife Jezebel, the daughter of the king of the Syrians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. He erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which built in Samaria. A couple things, just kind of so we don't have to really dig too deep into this, but a couple things I want to point out. Of course, we know he marries a lady named Jezebel. If you look Jezebel up, it is in the dictionary, and she doesn't have a really good definition for a name. And so, if you read later on, Jezebel actually has many of God's prophets killed, and so God sends Elijah to Ahab. And over in 1 Kings chapter 17, God basically tells Ahab, because of what you've done to me, I will neither let it dew or rain in the next few years except at Elijah's request. Now, one of the things I found very interesting is why choose, second John probably did this, but why choose to not let it rain or even dew hit the ground for the next 2-3 years? Thing I didn't notice and read about this, the reason God chose the weather is because Baal, the one they were all worshiping at that time, was the god of fertility, and that fertility also had to do with crops growing and flourishing. He did this to get the attention of his unfaithful people. And I think sometimes, if you bring things about us, he does that for us as well. He allows things to happen in our lives to get us back on track. And so what we want to do is we study this as we continue on. We want to allow God to expose the things in our lives that have become our sacred golden calves, as we talk about. Things in our lives that we're not willing to let go. So, I saw this little note. I'm going to read it to you because it's a really neat story. And I think it kind of describes a lot of people in our culture and our society. So imagine this story, if you will. It says, people arrive hours early for Bible class and for worship. On Sunday mornings, they set up their alarm clock. They set up a backup alarm clock, and then the one backup alarm clock. These people arrange their schedules to make sure they don't miss any gathering with each other. Throughout the week, they talk about what happened the previous Sunday as the excitement builds up for the upcoming church service. There are all-day talk show radio hosts that are devoted to reviewing last week's sermon notes and taking prayer requests. When Sunday comes, the members start loading up in their trucks, and their SUVs, and their cars, and they arrive at the church building early, hours before it starts. People even begin to camp out the night before so they can get the best seats in the auditorium. On the way to church, no matter how early you leave, the roads are always congested. When you arrive to the building, there are more cars than you can count, and some people have even set up makeshift tents and portable grills to get together after the services are over. It doesn't matter whether rain or shine, there always will be people standing outside waiting in line to get to their favorite pews. As a matter of fact, people enter the building, they run to the front rows and start filling them up just so they won't miss anything that goes on during the services. Rumors have even spread that Sunday morning that the preacher is speaking on biblical stewardship and sacrificial giving that morning, and everyone is pumped and can't wait to hear it. After several hours, people begin to hope that the worship service goes into what they call overtime so they can stay just a little bit longer because they really hate to leave. Now, of course, we know that's not real. That sounds really super fake. And it is. But all I did was describe the football game in Tuscaloosa and put in the idea of worship. Football in this town, obviously, I'm not going to just talk about football, lots of things. But this is a problem I had a long time ago. Football in this town has become a focal point of many lives. But in reality, I'm not really just aiming at sports. Today, I'm going to be aiming at entertainment all around everything. The reason I picked the number one sacred cow here in America, in Alabama, is because the richest and the poorest, entertainment, it affects all of us. So the question is, why do we like to entertain ourselves? What are we trying to accomplish with entertainment? Now, if you love this, 10 signs that you might have a problem with entertainment. It almost sounds like a Jeff Foxworthy thing. You might be an entertainer. Anyway, first one. You entertain yourself to relieve stress. Now, you don't have to fit all 10 of these, but at least one of these means you might have a problem with entertainment. Number 2 is you not only enjoy entertainment with others, but alone you're just fine without everybody else. You can do it just by yourself, whatever it is. Number 3, you look forward to your next opportunity to be entertained. You anticipate the next time. Number 4, you look for entertainment to relieve boredom and loneliness. Number 5, you seem to go from one entertaining item to the next one. This one vacation to the next, one concert to the next, whatever you want to put in there. When you're at work, or at school, or even at church, you're looking forward to some form of entertainment opportunity when that's over, or even during your mind's thinking about it. Number 7, that you might have a problem with entertainment. You feel defensive and even uncomfortable around people who don't worry about being entertained like you do, or don't seem to have the same passion for whatever it is that you have passion for. I remember when I was a teenager, if you told me wrestling was fake, and I knew it was, I'd almost punch you. Just call me, okay? Number 8, you use entertainment to fill in the gaps of social or deep conversations and interactions with others. In other words, the conversations you have with other Christians and other people has really there's no depth to it. It's about what you saw, what you did, what went on. Number 9, you allow entertainment to cause you to procrastinate or even neglect responsibilities at times, putting things off because of the entertainment. And number 10, you have withdrawal symptoms if you get away from being entertained for any length of a time. Cell phone dies, computer crashes, the Wi-Fi messes up, whatever it is. Now here's the funny thing about that. That's really, I was able to Google search the top 10 things that means you're addicted to entertainment. That was actually, and I just changed the words out, the top 10 things to show that you're an alcoholic. I just moved the word drink and stuck entertainment in its place. And so we condemn people to deal with those problems, but we are just like them. We have problems. And if you didn't fit all 10 of those, I bet one of those hit you. They hit me. Of course, not all of them is going to apply, but one of the things I want you to understand is the devil does his best to entertain you to get to us. We know that our adversary devil is cunning and he's a father of lies. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 is a very reminding verse that he walks around seeking, like a lion, seeking those who he may devour. I don't know if y'all think about that every day. The fact the devil is in the same area that you are at all given moments of that day. Looking for opportunities to trip you up and to mess you up. The average American, and here's a couple of things we're going to talk about. The average American usually spends about 4.5 to 5 hours a day watching television. The average television in the homes in America stays on more than 8 hours a day. But entertainment's not just TVs, it's not just movies, it's not even just video games, social media sites. It can be concerts, working out, eating, hiking, camping, hunting, fishing, sports, shopping, road trips, and vacations. And the list can continue. You name it, and everything can be used to feedback for us, for our bodies, and for our minds to interpret it as pleasure. A lot of things can entertain us, and it'll be tough to see what our individual golden calves will be like to look at, but we have to be willing to do that. And here's how you know what yours is. 3 simple questions. In your life, what does everything in your life seem to orbit around? What does everything that you do on a day-to-day thing seem to orbit around? Here's another thing, possible question to ask yourself. What are locked-in dates on your calendars right now? What are your locked-in dates? Things you're not going to miss. Another one. What are the essential items in your budget? And how much of your monthly budget goes towards taking care of ourselves and pleasing ourselves? It's just one of the things to think about. So let's look at 1 Timothy chapter 6. Like I said, I decided to pick the best one. We're going to kind of count tonight and see how many people show up for class next week. But anyway, 1 Timothy chapter 6. Someone gets that, read 17, 18, and 19 for me, that please. 1 Timothy chapter 6, 17, 18, and 19.
Command those who are rich in this present age not to be haughty, nor to trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who gives us richly all things to enjoy. Let them do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share, storing up for themselves a good foundation for the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life.
All right, the first 2 passages, the one I want you to look at is 17 and 18. Somebody tell me what's that saying to you? 17 and 18.
Don't count on your riches.
All right.
You're on the riches.
Right, of course. All right, what else? What else jumps out?
Let's trust in God.
Trust in God. And then the key to this, kind of what we're talking about is, but on God who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. That our joy should be found in everything that has to do with God. That can be His creation and other things, but that should be our source of our entertainment. Should be everything should be focused. Remember, I asked a week or 2 ago. I asked you had some people living in your house, children, whoever, in-laws, if they live with you, whatever. What your focal point of your day is. What do you talk about the most? What you're most excited about? And I told you it would be very scary if they didn't mention the word God in there. Then that's something that we've got to do a better job of. that we need to work on. Now, of course, work, and we're going to talk about work and stuff like that. We're going to unload those opportunities because it's good for us. We need to do that. But what is your day, what is it about? And that's what we're talking about. And this is just entertainment. There's numerous things we can talk about. But I decided to talk about this evening. One of the points I make, I wrote down here, is God is a joyous God, and He wants us to know that He wants us to have that joy. But our problem lies when we enjoy things outside of God. Entertainment in its one itself is not bad, but the problem is that it can get out of hand really fast. We are kind of the society, and become the society of wanting our cake and eating it too. And so let me ask you a really tough question tonight. Okay? What if I told you that God wants each of us in this room tonight to pick the one thing that entertains us the most, and He wants you to stop doing it? I mean, what if I actually had that? Like that was an extra letter. 3 Timothy wrote Randy, subtitle Randy. Randy, I need you to tell people this. But what if He said tonight, I need you to let go of the most entertaining thing in your lives. I need you to let it go for me. Could we do it? Now, the opposite question is, and He doesn't say that. There's no 3 Timothy. But, let me ask you this. Are we sure? Jesus told the rich young ruler to do what? To sell all his possessions and come and follow Him. Why sell his possessions? Why could he not keep some stuff at whatever kind of bank account they had or whatever he did? Why can't he keep that stuff back, leave it at the house and follow? He wouldn't need it, so why would he need to sell it all?
He trusted in it.
He trusted in it. That's what he got his pleasure from. That's what he drove for. And we'll talk about power and money and that thing another day. But that was his thing. And so that could be any of us. And when we decide, and it talks about a little bit later, Christ commands all of us to deny ourselves, to take up our cross, and to come follow Him. What does that mean? To deny yourself. One of the most amazing questions I've ever asked was on the Ferguson Center on campus, and I was trying to engage with people on campus, young adults, and so I decided, we'll just ask a verse and I'll have them interpret for me. I'll do a very common verse, and so that was the verse I picked. It was to die ourselves and take up our crosses and follow me. And you would be amazed that people didn't have a clue what that meant. So I asked you the question, what does it really mean to us tonight? To deny ourselves, take up our cross, and follow Him. Somebody. Put God first? Yes, definitely. But what else? Say no.
So, I don't know if we get there, but as far as we can to think of it as that we no longer live. Our likes, our dislikes, it's not about that anymore. Once we pick up that cross.
Okay. What else? Anybody else?
Rick, I've always loved, verse 18 there, 1 Timothy 6, where it says, let them do good, that they may be rich in good works, ready to give, willing to share. And to me, that puts the concept on getting away from yourself and thinking about others.
Right.
And of course, our problem is, we think about verse 17 and we think of the really rich people, like, man, that's who this is talking about, but really it's talking to all of us. That we need to get out of ourselves and think a little bit more like Jesus did about other people.
So let me ask you this question, okay? And to kind of help with what we're talking about. If I needed you to help me carry something really heavy, or something that's going to be very taxing, or something that's going to be maybe a little uncomfortable to carry, what are you not going to wear? The heaviest clothing that you own. You're not going to have you're not going to take a bunch of luggage with us. You're not going to do what? You're not going to have a lot of baggage on you, other than maybe a little bit to protect your shoulder. You're going to kind of shove a bunch of stuff off. And when I hear, take up my cross and follow me, deny myself, I'm thinking in my mind, I got to let everything go because this is going to be work within itself. Because if I've got to drag this cross for X amount of years in my lifetime, I don't need a bunch of baggage holding me back. I need to let go of everything and just be me and it. Because if God's really all I need, then God's really all I need. And that's what I think it means to me. It means and also the idea of denying myself, it's what? Every day that I get up, every decision that I make is what? Based on what God wants me to do in that situation. That's what it means to deny yourself. We're probably America in general is probably the worst dieters of all time. Because why? Because denying ourselves is extremely hard. We don't have to. We got access to everything. And for us to even talk about the word diet, it makes some people cringe. Oh my goodness, you want me to do what? And we talked about the other day, you got to have, even guys that have full-blown heart attacks and know they need to change their diets, are not willing to do it. Or still smoking, drinking, doing all the things they normally do. I go to them all the time. Not willing to let go of things, even though it needs to happen. And so we think about our own lives, and we think about what that means. And then kind of along with that, in Romans chapter 12, another really excellent passage to go with this idea of denying ourselves. Romans chapter 12, starting in verse 1. And I'm going to get to interpret this for in a second. It says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. We'll do that with verse number 2 in a second. Somebody tell me what verse 1 says to you in Romans 12. Second.
I know this we talked about this verse before, but tend to think about what a living sacrifice is. Because going through the Old Testament system, and even after Jesus' sacrifice required death, regardless of what was being sacrificed, who was going to die. And when Jesus' ultimate sacrifice, his death, accomplished for us, obviously, forgiveness of sins, hope in heaven, we're called to sacrifice as well. It's like, well, my death, our deaths, in that sense, aren't going to accomplish anything directly. It's like no one's going to be forgiven of their sins if I die for them.
Right.
But people could be saved if we, as individuals, like if we're willing to devote ourselves, basically our entire lives, for however long we have left to live, to make it like we are dead, that we no longer exist, but we're so focused on doing what God wants us to do that it's basically like the old person is dead. And so we've sacrificed, in a sense, whatever lives we would have had otherwise, but it's for that purpose.
Right.
I think about in the Old Testament, they didn't offer the lame calf or.
Well, they did. They got in trouble for it.
Well,
Yes, yes.
they were required, demanded to give the spotless, the best. So I guess more of a literal sense of, this is my body, I need to take care of it in the sense that it's as spotless as it can be, or as clean as it can be, don't put toxins into it, or, this is the verse that people like to quote when you talk about this tattoos also.
Right. That's my lesson next week. So we're not
Right,
talking about
but I mean, I think of it
sinful
in
tattoos. Go ahead.
that terms, the literal sacrifice
Yes.
and how we can be
Right.
like that.
Right, and it's kind of a scary thought. Okay, we talk about being found faithful in the end, and we want to be acceptable, but what does it say here? Present your body as a living sacrifice, which is holy and acceptable to God. So in other words, if you're what? Let's say the contrary to that verse is what? If you're not living your lives as a living sacrifice, denying yourself, then what does that mean? Then you're not what? You're not holy and acceptable. I just saying the opposite of what it says, but that's exactly what it means. It means if I'm not, my life is not surrounded by God, if He does not see me denying myself daily. And here's the thing I like about the idea of the living sacrifice. That means what? That means it's not a one and done. That means every morning that I get up, I'm starting all over again. Every morning that God lets me have another day on this earth, I'm doing it again. And that's what's found acceptable, and that's what He does. Now, I know it's a little bit off of entertainment, but this is a core thing I think you have to realize when I ask, what's got you wrapped around its finger, entertainment-wise, and what you need to let go of. Now, let me go ahead and tell you this, and then we'll do two, of course, to not be conformed to this world, but transformed by the renewal of your mind, testing you may discern what is the will of God, and what is good, and what is acceptable, and what is perfect. We've talked about that a bit. Now, let me go ahead and tell you how I almost got run out of town one time in Cottondale. Several years ago, the Iron Bowl was coming, okay? And I made a suggestion, and I've made, if you've heard me say this before, it's okay, you're going to get here again. I made a suggestion that we should do an Iron Bowl fast. In other words, you can sign up for the quarter, a half, or all 4 quarters. If you're going to the game, that's one thing. If you already got tickets, I understand. Maybe you should donate the money to the good Lord. That's up to you and Him, okay? Ooh, that was rough. But for one quarter, all I wanted you to do was not watch the game. I don't know how many people I lost in class the next week after I announced it. Now, was I out of line by saying that? No, because you know what the reaction I got was? I knew we had a problem. I really did. I mean, I had people like sending me messages like, "You don't understand what you're asking me to do." I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, is that what's else got to hold you like that? You can't." I'm serious, and I was just making a suggestion. I thought it would be interesting to propose an idea of something that we all waiting on, and they got to do a report. I'm talking about 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't watch the whole thing to prove the point. Now, here's the thing. I said, look, I'm not watching the whole game. And not only do I want you to do that and just go watch something else, I wanted you to, like, read your Bible, kind of like what real fasting used to be, studying, praying, and that kind of stuff in its place. And I'm talking about, like, people were mad at me. Mad at me. And I thought it was hilarious. And then, you know what their phrase was? Well, that's not fair, Randy. It's not fair because you don't watch football hardly anymore. That's what it was. And guess what I said? Okay, you pick mine. You pick it. Whatever you want me to do with that, I'll do it. Now, in a way, maybe that's probably not the best idea in my relationship, but other than that, you get to pick. And I love sweet tea. I'll do that sweet tea for 15 minutes. Ain't that big no sweet. I ain't had no better than 30 minutes. But I'm serious. Like and so what I was just proposing an idea, but the reason behind that was I wanted to see where we were, and I found out we can't do it. And I'm asking you the same question: what can you not do with that? That's what God's wanting from us. He's wanting nothing to have a bind on you. Because if something's got a bind on you, then that means He ain't got a bind on you. Then there's no room for Him. That's all that. That's the whole purpose of that whole thing, of the Iron Bowl fast, as I call it. The whole purpose of it was just to see. And I was proved right. Now, as we continue on, one of the things we'll talk about in the last few minutes of class, let's go over into the book of Ecclesiastes real quick. I'm talking about almost ran me out of town asking not to watch the first quarter.
Don't tell him Super Bowl.
Yeah, we're doing a Super Bowl fast, by the way. Can you believe that church center? Yeah, Tennessee versus Auburn. Nobody wants to watch that. All right, we'll have in later. All right. So the idea of pleasure and the idea of entertainment, I feel like the best chapter, the best book to go to is Ecclesiastes. Now, we all know who Solomon is. We know he's one of the greatest figures of his time in the Old Testament. And Solomon decided, obviously writing the book of Ecclesiastes, decided to put what we desire so much to the test. He pursued entertainment as relentless as anybody could, and he was looking for the ultimate pleasure. And in my opinion, I put Solomon up there as the biggest Powerball winner of all time. I mean, we see, because we all thought about that. I know you did at least once. I don't buy tickets because that's another discussion when it says I'm doing tattoos or doing gambling. But anyway, what would it be like to get $970 million? I could take Mr. Charles on vacation. I mean, that's how you better hope that. Sorry about Mr. Charles. But anyway, that's what we're thinking. But Solomon was more rich than we really comprehend. Now, one of the things over in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 14, it mentions just what Solomon's getting on income is gold alone. Just gold, not this other stuff. And I started figuring out, all right, well, how does this work? So in 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 14, it mentions that King Solomon was receiving annually 666 talents of gold. Okay? So 1 talent of gold equals 34.5 kilograms, which if you convert it over is basically about 1,100 ounces of gold per talent. And he's getting 666 of them. Now, I don't know if you knew, but today's dollar value, let's do it today. Today's dollar value, an ounce of gold is worth $1,323, which means by today's standard that Solomon was taking in annually $977 million a year. And he was king for 40 years. Now, that's not mentioned in this property. Has nothing to do with all the land and the houses and all the horses and everybody else, stables and the servants. But he's taking in $977 million a year just in gold. And so he had access. Let's just say he has access to anything he wanted. And so Solomon decides, I've got all this stuff, all this money coming in, like a Brewster's Million type thing going on. I said, man, get rid of it, basically. Let's see if I can spend it. Let's see if I can do something with it. And so we see he makes that decision in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, starting in verse 1. This is Solomon talking, but this is us talking too at times. We don't put ourselves because we say we're not rich like Solomon. You're right, we got 977 coming in, but we do, some of us do okay. He says in verse 1, I said in my heart, come now, I will test you with pleasure and enjoy yourself. But behold, this was also vanity. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of pleasure. What use is it? I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine. My heart still guided me with wisdom and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what is good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. Verse 4, Solomon says, I make great works. I built houses, I planted vineyards for myself. I made gardens and parks. Can you imagine what Home Garden Channel would do with Solomon? Just if they're talking, it would have a whole series just for him. Planted all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools for which water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female servants. I had slaves who were born in my house. I had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any other who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of the kings and the provinces. I got singers, both men and women, many concubines that delight the children of man. So I became great, and I surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. All my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep it from them. I kept my heart for no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all toil, and this was my reward of my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended at doing, and behold, here's our verse. It was all vanity, or meaningless, or foolish, and a striving after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. So if he had a t-shirt back in the days, been there, done that type of t-shirt, Solomon's got it. He owns the company that has the t-shirts, that sells the t-shirts. He's done it all. And so what is Solomon telling us when it comes to things that we're desiring in our hearts right now, outside of God? It's all what? It's all vanity. The largest houses in Tuscaloosa, when those people leave, they'll be somebody else's. When somebody leaves after that, they'll be somebody else's. And then when the trumpet blows, they ain't going to be nobody's. And so what we've done is, and we're talking about entertainment, we can go into other things. What we've done is we've created our lives around the things that we want and what we desire. And Solomon's saying, why? I did it. I've done it. There's no need for you to even try. Because a lot of people are skeptical how Solomon's life ends up turning out, whether he's faithful or not faithful, that kind of stuff. But we all know, and he tells us, I tried it all. Everything that we try to fill our lives, and this is a good statement, I think, all the things that we try to fill our lives with is pointless besides God. We have become a society that craves amusement. We want to be entertained, and we get bored really easy. So back in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, starting in verse 8, Solomon realizes this as well. A generation goes, and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to the place where it rises. Verse 6. The wind blows to the south and goes to the north, and round goes the wind, and on the circuits the winds return. All streams run into the sea, but the sea is not full to the place where the streams flow, where they flow again. All things are full of weariness, and man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. And so he's telling us here, and also, verse 14. I've seen everything that's done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind. So the only thing that he's very secure about that's going to happen again is what? He's telling us here. The streams are going to run toward the ocean. The wind's going to keep blowing east to west, north to south. The sun's going to continue to rise and continue to set. And other than that, everything else is a waste of time. And if it has to do with us. If it has to do with our own pleasure and our own stuff. Now think about when he writes, when this is being written. He has all this access to all this entertainment, but he does not have the access. Just think if he was $977 million a year here. and what he has access to now. He didn't have internet, he didn't have iPods, he didn't have all the big screen stuff, he didn't have entertainment door. He didn't have that kind of stuff. He had a lot, but he didn't have what we had. One of the things I found very interesting is, didn't really realize this, and hopefully this is something you kind of think about too, is when Solomon writes the book of Ecclesiastes, he uses one phrase 29 times in the book. And the book, and it says, under the sun. He uses that 29 times. And so what I took from that is, Solomon's telling us what? He's looked everywhere under the sun, but maybe we need to be looking above the sun. That's where it can be found. You can't find it down here, I've already tried. And so when, at the end of Ecclesiastes, just turn to the end of the book, we've got just a few more minutes. The book, Ecclesiastes 12, starting verse 13. He says, the end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole beauty of man. For God will bring every deed into judgment with every secret thing, whether good or whether evil. And so thinking about what he's saying here is, outside of God's commands is really everything else pretty worthless. Everything else has really no meaning to it. One thing to kind of keep in mind as we get ready to close, we're made for God, and until God becomes our greatest pleasure, all other pleasures in our life will always leave the emptiness. You'll never eat enough food. You'll never go to enough movies. You'll never ride enough big waves if you're a surfer. You'll never hike enough trails. You'll never buy enough stuff. You'll never have the biggest TV. Because all of it will be pointless. And all of it is, and it's designed that way. God designed you that way to find your pleasure in Him. And only through Him will you be full. Now, last thing. A few years ago, I got the opportunity to go to Mexico, and if you've been able to travel before to different countries, third world, second world, whatever, you see a whole different environment than what you're used to. So when I went, a couple things that really shook me, kind of overtook me a little bit, was that one thing, the first thing I noticed was the lack of things that everybody had. That's the first thing I noticed in a lot of the houses I went to, was their lack of things. The one chair that they had, and the 2 milk crates. The dirt floors, the no TV, the no nothing, the hammock. I noticed lots of hammocks. That's what I noticed. That's what they had. I took notice of how many times, every time we passed the church building, at all times of the day, the people in Blanket were there. The Christians there at that church were at that building, no matter what time of day it was. And I've always found that interesting. As I passed by, no matter what I went by, there are people inside doing something. When we went to do door knocking one day, we had people drive for 2 to 3 hours on some terrible Mexican roads with a speed bump every 5 seconds, I think. It may have just been potholes. It felt like speed bumps. They drove hours just to go door knocking with us. Hours. On some pretty terrible roads. I was also impressed with how many of them were working night jobs all day long, but then would come and spend all day with us door knocking. Be more slapped out, but we're that excited to do what we want to do. I was amazed at everyone I talked with, and everyone I talked with told me the exact same thing, Christian or not Christian, and they said how blessed they were. And I wanted to say, are you serious? Do you realize what we're standing in? You're in filth. Like, the homeless people in America live better than you do. A lot of them do. Another thing that I noticed too, and so when I got there late, when all the stuff that we had happened, and we got there to the church there, about 2 a.m. in the morning, there was a full crew of people there waiting on me to feed me when I got there. Had been up all day and all night cooking, waiting until I got there. And then one of the things I said too, I wrote down, is the reason that they were like this is, number one, they were good people. And number two, because down there, God doesn't have a lot of competition. That's the reason they're that way. I mean, ultimately, really, that's the reason they have it. He didn't have a lot of competition down there. So my challenge for all of us tonight and for the rest of your lives on this earth, cut off your TVs. Log off your Facebook a little bit more. Turn down your music a little bit more. Unplug the game consoles. Plan less vacations. watch less sporting and go to less sporting events. And for your soul's sake, we need to turn all our eyes over to God. That's what the most important thing is. So entertainment is a big problem. And we're going to talk about some other things as we progress. But it all boils down to our hearts. And it all boils down to what's really important to us. You will sacrifice for the things that are most important to you. I promise. We do it all the time. So thank you. You're dismissed. Everybody survived. Mandy's still on there, so we'll be able to